Test.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, mic check.
Loud and clear.
and things go haywire. So I try not to touch them. But I did want to give a few opening remarks. We appreciate that you're taking the time to listen to us, to hear about what's been going on in our court. We have engaged in some programs that I feel are extremely exciting and helpful for our citizens and the people that we serve in the court. And I want us to share that with you. Some of the work that we have been doing had been funded by ARPA, and there will be changes coming to them because obviously we don't have that same source of funding. But especially with our suspended license intervention program, the fantastic news is we are still going to be able to work with Kansas Legal Services on it. It will be a more limited basis, but we will still be able to make progress in that area. It is extremely important in my mind for us to get people out of the issue of being suspended with their license. People that have a valid license have much better outcomes overall. It helps their financial situation, so it improves their economic situation because they can get better jobs, which leads to better health care, and it helps bring in, honestly, revenue for our entire community. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to continue some of that work, even though it will be in a different realm. And I know that Mr. Janook and I are open to trying to find other ways to expand that program again, whether it's through some sort of a grant. I know Judge Whitman has been kind of trying to look into that for us, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to give you some positive news regarding that. A couple of the other highlights that I think are very important to note. I was very happy and excited to have the legal department work with us on changing our court cost structure. We still have to charge, of course, the mandatory state fees, but eliminating that $30 court cost, I think, has gone a long way to improving our interactions with the public, and it has gone a long way in getting people out of our court, through our court, and not having to come back, which is also fantastic for them. And the other thing that I find really exciting that we're starting is through that CCFJ grant that we had, we are bringing some of these classes and programs that we require people to participate in as a part of probation in-house, which reduces the cost to them because it will be offered at no cost. What that means is if somebody fails at probation, it's not going to be because they are unable to afford those classes. Now, if somebody chooses not to participate, in my opinion, that's a different situation. But I hate having to face revocation solely because you're economically unable to be successful on our probation. And in fact, when motions to revoke are filed in our court, if it's just filed for non-payment of a fine, I am very reluctant to actually revoke people unless I know that there is like a willful intent not to pay. And with having said all that, I'm going to turn over the bulk of the presentation to Mr. Janook. Thank you very much for having us. I really appreciate it. And I'd love to answer any questions you have at the end.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to echo what Judge said. We appreciate you taking the time and having us present to the commission this evening. Let me get prepared. I'll put my readers on. Getting old is yeah, it's rough. There was a time yeah, I never had to use any readers, but not so much now. So we prepared a slideshow presentation. I gave you a handout as well. The handout's a little more detailed. I didn't want to regurgitate and put every single word on the PowerPoint presentation, nor did I want to read it to you. So just to preface this by reminding everybody of our mission in the municipal court, which is to serve with fairness, honesty, and integrity. We like to remind people that it's through the municipal court that most citizens come into contact with the judicial system, either as a defendant, a victim, or a witness. The municipal court is a rare opportunity. My background is in corrections. I spent 20 years working for the Kansas Department of Corrections, and I can remember many a conversation with individuals that centered around, gosh, if we had only been able to intervene sooner, if we had only known this person, prior to the level of trouble or the poor decision making that they got into, we could have maybe made a difference. And I very much see municipal court as an opportunity to do exactly that, be more impactful in people's lives before things go sideways and get out of hand. The municipal court's considered a court of limited jurisdiction. We have responsibility for all adult misdemeanors which occur in the city of Kansas City, Kansas. There are a few exceptions. There are no jury trials in municipal court. We have specialty dockets in municipal court for both DUI and domestic violence cases. We currently have 14 separate dockets each week in municipal court. We act on tickets written by KCK Police Department, Sheriff, Railroad Police, KU Med Center Police, Kansas City Code Enforcement Officers, USD 500, the Community College, Kansas City, Kansas Animal Control Officers, and Parking Control. Tickets written by the Kansas Highway Patrol are processed over in district court. That's often something that most people don't realize, but those are done over at district court level. By having municipal court handle those adult misdemeanors, that burden is removed from the district court, allowing the DA's office to focus on those more serious kinds of felonies. So it really prevents that bottleneck from occurring at the district court level and having those cases backed up. The municipal court requires regular, semi-regular, and occasional interpretation for a very wide range of languages. I put several of them down: Spanish, Swahili, Burmese, Kirundi, Chin, Hmong, Mandarin, Kunama, Tigrinya, Romanian, American Sign Language, Hakachin, Chuukese. That's not all of them. That's about 20 just over the last 12 to 18 months. But we've seen that need for interpretation grow exponentially, especially over the last several years. I included on your handout the org chart for municipal court. I think it's important for people to understand that the municipal court as a whole has 23 full-time positions. That's it. That includes the judges. So we operate with a fairly, what I would consider to be a minimal amount of staff members, especially. And I'm sorry, I guess I'm not paying attention to the slideshow presentation. So especially when you take into account the case information and statistics. So historically, approximately 35 to 40,000 cases on average have been filed with municipal court each year. Here are some of the previous years. I went back 6 years, dating back to 2018, just to give people an idea of what that looks like. So you can see beginning in 2018, the total citations were 42,655, 37, almost 38,019, fewer in 2020, which is also when COVID hit. So we saw that reduction. A slight increase in 2021, again, still under COVID. Luckily, what we've seen in 2022 and 2023 is an actual decrease. So 21,463 in 22 and 26,980 just this last year. We hope that's a trend that continues. We like seeing fewer and fewer citations. I wanted to highlight the highest risk to public safety kinds of charges that we see in municipal court and what that looks like with those same years. Those are domestic violence cases, other violent misdemeanors, so things like battery on LEO, assault, committing a crime with a weapon, and DUI. We see those as posing the biggest, most direct threat to public safety. You can see in 2018 where we were. That's represented on the graph below. The domestic is in blue with other violent misdemeanors in orange, DUI in green. We saw a decline from 2018 to 2020 with that slight increase in 2021. down again for DUIs and in the other violent misdemeanors, or the domestic violence from down into 2022, leveling off here in 2023. There's a slight increase on other violent misdemeanors from 21 to 22, but it's leveled off again in 2023. But just to put that chart in perspective for you, what that looks like. The same 6 years, the top 10 violations that we see in municipal court. You're going to see some similarities with most of those being traffic related. And so if you give me a minute to go back on that chart, I want to point out, if you look at the middle, traffic totals are easily just a little over 50% of what we hear in municipal court, with followed by parking related offenses, and then those misdemeanor offenses at the top, broken down percentage wise. This reflects what that chart shows, with the majority of those being traffic related. Those top 10 kinds of violations for each of those years, 18, 19, and 20. And the next three, 21, 22, and 23. I wanted to give a quick, just a quick kind of down and dirty overview on money collected. So municipal court is unique in that the less money collected is a positive. I know that sounds a little backwards, but you know, when you're bringing less money in because you've had fewer citations, people are being fined less. That's a reflection that those kinds of negative behaviors aren't occurring outside, which reflects a safer community. So you can see from 2018 that those total fines collected, the total money collected, which includes fines, fees, and costs at 3.5 million. Now we have a remittance to the state of Kansas. So all the money collected, a portion of that goes to the state, like what Judge alluded to earlier, which left that final total collected at the bottom in orange. As you can see, along with the graphs, it reflects that same kind of trend from 2018 to 2023, where you've seen that slowly go down. Again, though, I would suggest that a reduction in money collected is actually a positive for our community. So we wanted to highlight some of the things that Judge was referencing, starting with the marijuana diversion program. That program began in January of this year. It was an option for defendants who meet the prosecutor's office criteria for that program. Defendants are required to watch a video, pay a diversion fee of $100 in order to participate. They can watch that video in person through the prosecutor's office or online. And if the defendant watches that video, they're required to complete a survey as proof that they've done so. Upon meeting the requirements of diversion, the prosecutor's office considers that diversion complete. The case is dismissed, and all persons may receive diversion more than once, but not within the same 12-month period. Since starting the program, which again is just this year, they've had 12 diversion completions. What we'd like to highlight is, without this program, without diversion, what marijuana convictions, what they mean is highlighted below. On your first offense, it's a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Your second offense is a Class A misdemeanor. It's punishable by 1 year in jail, a $2,500 fine. Your third conviction is a felony in the state of Kansas, punishable by 10 to 24 months in jail or prison, and a $100,000 fine. So those are serious consequences, especially with respect to we're right across the state line from a state where marijuana is legal. So it's a tough situation to be in. The diversion program, in my opinion, is a positive way in dealing with those marijuana convictions without negatively impacting somebody's lives. I mean, substantially. That it's a big deal. And I think sometimes we forget that, oh, well, you know, just a second conviction. That's not a big deal. And oh, so you got caught a third time, but a third time in this state is a felony. Judge mentioned suspended license intervention program. Again, this is information that was provided to us through Kansas Legal Services. We partnered with them in the health department, utilizing ARPA funding to get this program started. I think maybe people don't realize that over 200,000 Kansans have suspended driver's licenses. The vast majority of those are not for dangerous driving. Instead, they're a manifestation of poverty, meaning they have failed to pay a traffic ticket or missed court. Kansas has the 6th highest suspension rate per capita in the nation. 40 to 50% of people with a suspended license will lose their job. The reality is this: whether my license is suspended or not, right? I have to get to work. I have to get to the grocery store. I have to take my children to school. I have to go to the doctor. And it's just this vicious cycle of once it's suspended, I can't get out of that hole. And it just becomes more costly and more costly over and over. In May of 22, again, in partnership with KLS and Health Department and through that ARPA funding, the municipal court introduced the program as a way to benefit those who would otherwise not be able to recover from that cycle of continued license suspensions by assisting those defendants obtain valid licenses. Additionally, the program seeks to reduce the number of jail days served and/or additional lengthy suspensions due to habitual violator status through a supervised diversion program. One thing I didn't include on the slide that KLS shared was a story, and I wanted to see if I could find this for you. And no, I did not. They used an example of a particular individual that had a suspended license for a period of 7 years, had lost, I think, 6 or 7 jobs during that same time period, was owed $3,000 or $4,000 by that point in fines and fees, and how through this program they were able to eventually work with the prosecutor's office and through a diversion program get a portion of that money paid off and eventually obtain a valid license for this individual for the first time in 7 years, which I thought was pretty amazing, pretty amazing. So more about that suspended license intervention program. Since the beginning, May of 22 through the end of this last year, 23, we've had some pretty impressive results. Data from KLS reflects that the amount of fines and fees waived for slip clients in traffic cases totaled $65,869. Now, they pointed out that there was an Arizona study from 2017 which found that the median annual income loss of a result of a driver's license suspension was $36,800. So assuming the Arizona study is accurate, with Kansas Legal Services obtaining either restricted driving privileges or full license reinstatements for up to this point 177 Wyandotte County residents, then as of December of this last year, approximately $6,513,000 has been put back into the pockets of Wyandotte County residents who so desperately need that money. Judge spoke about the grant through cities and counties for fine and fee justice. We were selected as a recipient of that grant. We joined and were participating members of that 2022-2023 cohort. As a result, we received a $50,000 grant to help support our fine and fee reform efforts and goals. Specifically, 2 things. Judge already referenced the elimination of the $30 court cost fee. The other thing, and what we used that money primarily for, was the creation of a new position in municipal court, the risk engagement assessment liaison, or what we refer to as the REAL. That grant funding allowed us to pay for much of that position, at least through the grant period of 1 year. At the end of the grant period, Unified Government agreed to fully fund the position for at least 1 additional year through this year, 2024. with a reassessment at the end of 2024 to determine if we'll continue the position on a permanent basis. The risk engagement assessment liaison work is important. This is a position that will primarily work through facilitating classes for individuals like what Judge referenced. Those 4 classes are alcohol and drug education class, anger management class, parenting class, and theft education class. Individuals who are identified as needing those classes aren't necessarily required to be put on probation. And so the example I will give you is, and I haven't kept my time, Monica, so how am I doing? Okay. Yeah, I can get a little long-winded. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart. It means a lot. So the explanation I like to give to people is, if we have a defendant who was cited for stealing, most people would look at that individual and say, well, the person's a thief, and their problem is they need to stop stealing. I would suggest we do a little bit deeper dive on that and look at what were you stealing? Was it somebody who was stealing diapers, baby formula, because they had small children at home that they needed to feed, because they couldn't afford to, because they don't get any other financial support? They might be a single parent. Maybe they don't work because they can't afford daycare, or because they don't have the education to obtain that type of job. Maybe transportation is an issue. So I would suggest that the person is not a thief. The person, relied on stealing as a way to survive and as a way to care for children that I think any of us with children can relate to. And so municipal court is an opportunity when it's somebody like that comes before the judge. It's more than just, okay, well, don't steal anymore. It's through these kinds of classes like theft education class, where we can dig a little deeper and figure out, well, what are the barriers? What are the issues that you're facing? Because rarely is it just, I'm a thief. I worked in the Department of Corrections for 20 years. Never, not one time, did I ever meet anybody that woke up one day and decided, I think I'll go to prison. It doesn't work that way. It usually starts out small when somebody is younger, making poor decisions, getting in trouble, and ending up in a place like municipal court. And it snowballs from there. And so this is a position, these are the kind of classes, and as Judge pointed out, we can offer through municipal court at no cost to an individual. So again, trying to remove some of that barrier of the poverty or what you can or can't afford. In addition to that, this individual, the risk engagement assessment liaison, will help guide that individual through assessments. So individuals who might need a mental health assessment, substance abuse assessment, treatment is different. We don't provide treatment. So substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, batterers intervention program. Those are programs that we don't contract out, but we send to a contractor. They're dictated who those approved providers are by the state of Kansas. We want the individual, they'll be working with community corrections on reestablishing a community service program for individuals receiving community service sanctions through municipal court, and actively working at building relationships with community providers and partners in an effort to reduce costs to individuals where possible. We want to provide citizens with viable options and resources that will assist them in overcoming the barriers and obstacles that could lead them back into the criminal legal system. That's how you address those issues. It's more than just write citations and make sure people are serving sanctions for what they did wrong, right? A couple of highlights on some transitions that we're going through. One is a new court management software system that was a long 2-year RFP that we finally were able to decide on, and moving forward with a software system, Municipal Justice by Tyler Technologies. We know that this will improve efficiency, resulting in cost savings, improved customer service. The current system that we have, IMDS, is from 2013. So going on 11 years now. No upgrades have been done to this system since that time. And as a result, we've seen a sharp decline in the quality and reliability of that system. And so Tyler Technologies, in case you're not aware, is an industry leader when it comes to government and other public sector software. It's a SaaS solution. So on the cybersecurity side of things, it's a big plus. Municipal Justice, it's a robust court management system. It will also be integrated into some other systems. So for an example, the e-citation system that KCKPD is getting ready to implement as a Tyler product as well. It'll be integrated into some state systems as well. So our reporting through KDAR and KDOR, at the end of the day, making the municipal court about 90% paperless. We'll still have to accept some handwritten citations and documentation until such time as those entities upgrade and go to a paperless kind of system like e-citation. The yearly cost for the current system is $78 for IMDS, $78,475. I'm going to apologize. The percentage is not correct. The percentage on my third one is, and it's a combination of three. I apologize. It's what I get for crunching some numbers and doing three things at once at the very end of this. Yearly cost for Tyler's system, our new system, is definitely more at a cost of $222,224 per year. It's an increase, but I would suggest an increase that is definitely money well spent, especially as it results in efficiencies and cost savings for the citizens of Wyandotte County. Another one of the services that we implemented was through our contract, Propio One. That's one of our vendors. It's through them that they provided this equipment. The Propio One allows the court to address cases without requiring the need for a continuance by offering real live on-demand video interpretation. So prior to us implementing this, what would have to happen is at an arraignment, somebody might show up and English is not their first language. We wouldn't know that because we'd never met that individual before. So we would, obtain or relay as best we could, what language do you speak? We would have to continue that case so we could find an interpreter to come back in person to interpret for that individual. This prevents that person from having to come back. It allows oftentimes the judge to resolve whatever it is on that first arraignment without having to do anything else. This has been a huge improvement for municipal court services. So we have this available not only in the court, but at our cashier window as well. It's done through a dual handset. So when people show up, we can help them without telling them we don't understand. Can you go get somebody who speaks your language or who can interpret for you? So saving people an enormous amount of time and money. Appointed defense counsel. So we have a new contract with new appointed defense counsel. They were recently contracted to provide services through municipal court. That team provides excellent representation with an emphasis on efficiency and customer service. They're physically present on the second floor every Thursday and Friday, excluding the fifth week of a month, if there is one. They work out of two offices in room 212. After being appointed defense counsel in court, the defendant completes a short intake form via their own computer or tablet, phone. There's a QR code provided on a sheet that we give them. Or they can utilize one of the laptops. You'll see the picture here set up in a booth up on second floor. So this allows somebody to leave court if they've been appointed defense counsel, go directly into a booth, complete that intake form. It takes you to a scheduling page. They can schedule an appointment with their defense counsel. So again, preventing people from having to make multiple trips. Staff are there to assist. So if somebody needs help or they don't understand, we can help walk them through that process. Again, my apologies, that percentage is correct, but it's a combination of both defense counsel services, interpretation services, as well as the court management software. We implemented check-in kiosks at municipal court. This allows us, we've been using this since July of 22. It allows us to see in real time who's checked in for court. Additionally, we're able to run reports from the system going back a year. So the clerk inside the courtroom prior to this would have no way of knowing who exactly has checked in and at what time. So people would get upset because I was here before you and yet you were called first. And we almost had people get into fistfights out in the hallway because they were upset. So this captures it in real time. So you're called in the order that you actually arrived, and we know who you are, why you're there, if you're a victim, if you're a witness, if you're an attorney. And so it helps out in the court process in that fashion. It also helps in that we can run a report a year back. So if somebody would dispute and say, well, I was in court last month, we can go back and say, well, did you check in? Yes, I did. We can go back and look to verify whether they did or not. So it allows us to track that. The other thing it does is it allows us to track efficiency. So it timestamps not only when you check in, but when you're called to the podium, the clerk up at the bench clicks an accept button. And then when you're finished, they click a finished button. So it captures how much time it took you from when you checked in to when you stepped up to the podium to appear before the judge to when you left the courtroom. So we can monitor that time and look at efficiencies on how is court running. Do we need to eliminate something, pick something up, do something different in order to get people through the court process in a more timely fashion. The last slide are yonder pouches. We just implemented this February 29th. We had some ongoing issues we were experiencing with cell phones in the courtroom. So the usage of yonder pouch technology is aimed at enhancing the safety of attendees and ensuring a distraction-free environment. We place those devices, or actually the defendant does, in the pouch. We lock it and they maintain possession of it the entire time. When they leave the courtroom, we unlock it for them. They retrieve their phone and they depart for the day. If while in the courtroom, they need access to their phone to, say, for an example, show an insurance card, we have unlocking bases both at the podium and at the prosecutor's table. So they have the ability to do that while in court. It provides enhanced privacy and security by eliminating, by protecting privacy of personal information, conversations that could be captured by electronic devices. It's provides an enhanced focus by eliminating the temptation to check or use mobile devices during the actual court session. This way, people can concentrate solely on the proceedings, leading to a more productive and efficient hearing. It also provides respect for decorum. So we encourage individuals to remain attentive and respectful, reducing disruption caused by ringing phones, message alerts, the unauthorized capturing of courtroom information or interactions. In addition to this, and it's not on the slide, while an individual's in the courtroom, and because they don't have their phone and they have to pay attention, they pay attention to a large television monitor similar to what's behind me. And that was, so Judge Whitman developed PowerPoint slides for every type of docket that we have. And so it actually walks somebody through the process, explains what your rights are, explains what to expect, those kinds of things. So as an individual sitting in court waiting for their turn, they have information to look at, which hopefully answers some questions or might spark some questions. So when they appear before the judge, they can reference that. So that's another enhancement that we made that goes along with the pouches and trying to make sure people focus on the court proceedings. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the PowerPoint presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I know Judge is happy to as well.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any comments or questions from the committee? Commissioner Burns.
About how many cases in a calendar year are appealed to the district court?
So I know this because I just had to provide this information to the judicial administration. Last year, 2023, we had 12.
Just 12 appeals.
Correct.
And how many really went to trial over there?
I don't know right offhand. I'd have to check.
I don't know what the
district court.
disposition was on those,
Not with it. I'd have to go look for those 12.
but just 12
out
out of all those cases.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Judge. Good evening, Mr. Chinook. Did I get that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. It just seemed like yesterday, although it's probably, if this is 24, it's probably a couple of years ago that you were here before us, talking about what you would do and your philosophy at the court. And I'm just happy to see that this is evidence that you followed through on that. And one of the things that was a key theme during that interview process was what was your philosophy about enforcement and balancing that against the individual needs that people have. So I'm glad to see that while it's a focus on addressing whatever the issue was, the focus is also trying to educate and help people not repeat a cycle and become productive and, not just be a repetitive visitor at the court system. So I'm appreciative for you following through on that, Judge Whitman and Mr. Janot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Townsend. Honestly, all of this has been possible because of the support of county administration and the support of you as commissioners. When we came to you about making the changes to the ordinance, when we came to you about the marijuana diversion program, we received nothing but support. And that has truly made all the difference for us. And I really would urge all of you, please come visit us on the second floor. We are happy to have you come down. I know Commissioner Lopez came down, Commissioner Stites has come down. I'd love to have everyone come visit our floor, make contact with us, touch base with us. I've met with Commissioner Davis about animal cases. I really feel strongly that the work we're doing is really important. And I think a lot of people's first contact with the unified government happens on our floor. And I know it does because I hear other employees say, oh, I saw a line of people come off at your floor. And we've tried to make our floor a welcoming environment. One of the things that we do is when people come off the elevator, we ask them, hey, how may I help you? Are you coming to court? We can tell you where the court is, which courtroom it is. What's your last name? Do you need the probation waiting room? We have someone there who is making contact with people. And I just think it has made such a difference. The structure of our dockets has changed so much. When I, worked here as a prosecutor, it almost looked like a cattle call. Okay, everybody get in line. With this check-in system, we don't have to do that. We can call one at a time and we can call people in the order that they checked in and they can feel valued that we have not wasted their time. And I'm hoping that the lack of appeals means that Judge Whitman and I are making good decisions. I don't know if that's what that means, but I certainly hope that that is what it means.
Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. It is really appreciated. I just have a question that's probably not a very smart question. In a couple of the slides, you referenced the prosecutor, and I just wanted to clarify, is that a city prosecutor?
Yes, so the prosecutor is not a part of our office. The prosecutor is a part of the legal department. He's actually here today. I'm sure he would love to answer any of your questions about the prosecutor's office.
I was trying to make sure I was
Yes.
tracking with the process.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Being mindful of time, I will be brief. I never got the presentation. It was amazing. So if you all can send that, I think all of us would just like to have it. No big deal. It's been a very interesting day. But definitely do send that to us or resend it if I'm just not catching it.
Okay, so I'm so sorry
No,
about that.
it's completely fine. It is completely fine.
Okay.
Do not
So-
do not worry
some
about
did,
that.
Some didn't. Okay.
We got to focus on
Yeah.
Dominic, so.
Yeah, do not worry about that. The other thing I'll say is I really hope, and I know there's costs and everything in budget, but the risk engagement assessment liaison position, I really hope we're able to keep that beyond the grant. One of the dangers, thank you. One of the unfortunate parts about getting a grant is you end up getting the money, right? It's often for the things that you need and things that you wish that you can just do regularly and include it in your operating budget. And then, right, you have to make the decision of do you keep it or not. So I really hope we're able to keep it so that you all can just keep going on this foundation. We don't need to go backward. We need to go forward. And so thank you all. You all are you're one of our front facing ambassadors, right? Every time I get in the hallway, most likely if it's somebody from the public, they're coming to your floor. And I've heard nothing but positive things coming from the second floor, at least for the folks that have been speaking to me. And so that speaks to the work of your office. That speaks to the work of you, Dominic, and with Eugene Ligo, Mr. Khalil. It really speaks to you all's efforts. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We really appreciate that.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very well done.
Good save.
Okay. There being no further business to come before this governing body, I will adjourn this special meeting. Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. I'd ask clerk, please call roll for adjournment.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Lopez.
Aye.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Townsend. Aye. Burns.
Aye.
Terry's.
Thank you, committee. We will now reconvene in the chamber. Okay. We will reconvene in the chamber at 7:15 for our planning and zoning and full commission meeting this evening. We are adjourned.
Oh.